Yeah, thank you so much, Megan, and thanks to everyone for joining. I know that everyone is extremely busy, and I realize that having either a Zoom or any type of meeting like this is just going to be one of many. So I really want to express some gratitude for everyone who showed up today. And I also want to acknowledge, too, we're going to talk about sustainable high performance and really building a mindset and unlocking the next level of impact. But before we do that, I really do want to honor the mountains that you've climbed and how far you've come already and the good that you've put into the world with your families and in your businesses. So let's start from there. And as Megan mentioned, my name is Sheryl, and she mentioned a lot of these things already. I'm a mental toughness and certified high performance coach, best-selling author and speaker. And before I jump into the content, and just so you know, this is going to go fast. What this is going to be is what I call interactive sprint sessions. So I'm going to teach, and then you're going to do. And it's going to go by very quickly. But before I do that, I want to give you a little bit of context, because you might be wondering, what is a mental toughness coach? And, like applied sports psychology, how would that apply to me? And why do I do what I do? So I'm just going to take 1 minute giving you a little context and why this is so important for all female leaders, emerging leaders, and also I want to include male allies as well. And maybe tell me if you can relate to this. When I was 9 years old, quite a long time ago, I was pulled into the office of my principal, and her name was Mrs. Harris. And she was sitting there behind her fancy desk, I remember, and she was on my left, and on my right were my parents, Barbara and Cecil. And what she said to me really shaped my world for the next couple of decades. She looked at me and she said, Sheryl, I know you're working really hard and you're doing pretty well. Unfortunately, you're not a good enough student to remain in this school, despite me doing the work and doing all the things. And I looked at my parents, they didn't stick up for me. We took those words as truth. But before we left, my dad did kneel down next to me and he said, you know what, Sheryl, it's only October. You have until June, the whole school year, to prove yourself. And I thought that was amazing news. And that's what I did. I worked really hard every day. I came home, I checked on my mom, who was at the time suffering from bipolar disorder, wanted to make sure she was okay. And I went upstairs and I worked longer and harder, because that's what we do, right? When we want something and we're not achieving it, we just need to work longer and harder. And at the end of the summer, it was a Sunday at the end of, not the end of the summer, but the end of the school year, the end of June, and my dad was making breakfast like he always did. And he was standing in the kitchen making scrambled eggs and, those blue flannel pajamas and a white V-neck undershirt. And he called me in to the kitchen and he said, Sheryl, you won't be going back to that school in the fall. And it was at that moment that I really thought Mrs. Harris was right. I'm not good enough. And I don't know, has anyone ever felt during any time of their life, either a long time ago or recently, that just maybe they're not good enough? Either they felt that themselves or someone else has made them feel that way. And if you can just put a Y in the questions box, that will let me know that, if you've answered or wanted to comment on that. And so I eventually wondered, I was curious, who gets to decide who's good enough? And I was especially curious about Olympians. And stick with me, because this is going to definitely relate to each and every one of you. And what I learned after studying and researching and working with world-class athletes and even Olympians, as well as world-class business professionals, is that there's only one person that gets to decide who's good enough, and that's us. Okay, and so yes, I'm seeing a lot of yeses, and so thank you for your transparency to everyone that's putting that in, for sure. And so there's only one person that gets to decide, and that's us. And so I was really passionate, and I really believed that my story was about my dad. And I spent a long time working and helping world-class athletes and business people get better quicker in teaching them how to perform under pressure. But I really learned that my story is about my mom. My mom did not have a voice in that meeting with the principal. She was not able to stick up for me there. She also did not have a voice in our home because we were not allowed to speak during the news. I remember my dad shushing her all the time. And then also she didn't have a voice. She was very passionate about 3 specific endangered species of owls. Okay, and shortly thereafter, after she passed away, too young, at the age of 69, shortly thereafter, those 3 species of owls went extinct. Okay, so what I believe to my core is that each and every one of you has a voice, and each and every one of you has something very special placed within you that the world really needs to see right now, especially now. Okay, so dreams do not die on my watch. I get my bravery because I am fighting for the voice of my mom, and I am fighting for the voice of the courage and the voice of each and every one of you and each and every one of female leaders, emerging leaders, and male allies, because I really believe that this group will help repair the world. Okay, so that's where I stand. So either you're going to be, well, I can't swear, so I won't swear, but either you're going to be all in or you're going to be like, wow, this speaker is a little crazy. But either way, just stick with me. You are on the call. I guarantee you're going to get some tools in your back pocket that will serve you. So thanks so much for sticking with me and understanding a little bit about my passion and why I am so passionate and why I believe in each and every one of you. Not just that you can access that next level of impact for yourself, but I almost feel like we have a sense of obligation now. And the power of us all doing it together and up-leveling together can be really powerful. All right, so shall we jump in? Let's get going. Now, you might think that this slide is actually a typo or mistake, but it is not. World-class performers always have transitions. And so we don't run, let's say you're a track athlete. You would not put your track gear on and then go run a race in the Olympics, right? You would put your track gear on, you would be still, you would do some breath work, some stretching, you would think about how you want to run your race, that type of thing. So I want us to get into the habit of transitioning as well. So prior to getting on this webinar, I had a few moments of still. I was thinking about what is the impact that I want to have, how am I going to show up for everybody, and that type of thing. So how we do this and the purpose of this is to use when you transition. So in other words, when you get to your work day, and that might be down the hall now, or something, what have you. It's not necessarily a commute. We don't have as much time to do this, but just get there and have a transition. And say, if you just have breakfast, you're showing up to your desk for your work. It's just a matter of doing this transition, and I'll walk you through it. And if you don't do it any other time, I really want to invite you to transition from your workday to your family. Because a lot of times what I'm hearing from thousands of, like the people that I'm working with one-on-one in my monthly group or even through digitally through my course is that everything's blending together. I'm not sure if that is sounding familiar to you guys, that you just kind of wake up, go to work, go to bed. It's all just kind of one big mosh pit of doing things. And these transitions are going to help you set some boundaries. And so if there's one time that you're going to do a transition, I would invite you to do it when you're done with your workday and then you're about to engage with your family again. Or maybe you take, a break in the middle of the day to go for a walk with a family member or what have you. But just take a moment to transition between that work into when you engage with the people that matter most. Okay? All right. So what I want you to do, it doesn't matter if you're standing or sitting, but either way, if you're sitting, I want you to uncross your legs, put your feet flat. Your hands, I wish you could see me, but they're palms up, resting on your lap. And what you're going to do is take a deep belly breath in, and then you're going to exhale out through your mouth. And you're going to do it one more time, but what I want you to do on the inhale in, and when you exhale, I want you to feel your face, shoulders relaxing, and then your feet just sinking into the ground. Okay, so try that one time with me. And then I want you to think to yourself or say out loud, I'm here. All right, and set an intention for the next 40 or so minutes that we have together. So you might think, I am fully present. Okay, I sit up straight. I am monotasking. I'm focused, or what have you. So set an intention for your time. So I'm just teaching you how to do that because that can really help as we move through our day, especially in this kind of unique time that we're experiencing. Okay, that's a lot of time on one slide with one word, but don't worry, we're going to start moving a lot quicker. Okay, awesome. Yep. Excuse me, I see some, yes, Groundhog Day. Okay, we don't want Groundhog Day because I've experienced that too, even though I coach this all day long, and it slows down our productivity, our innovative ability, and it can have some not so good impact on our relationships as well. So some of these things that I'm going to be sharing are really, really, really important. So stay tuned. All right. So why are you taking an hour out of your already super busy day? I'd like to share that, what my purpose is and what our purpose is to help you feel more in control in that huge time of uncertainty. What generates a lot of anxiety is uncertainty. Okay, when we focus on the future and things that we don't have control over, whether it's a pandemic, whether it's our businesses or what have you, that generates a lot of anxiety. So I want to give you some tools to feel more in control of what you do have control over, and which in turn will help you feel calm and also teach you some tools, some scientific-based tools on how to have greater influence with yourself and also with others. And then you might be wondering, that sounds great, but how exactly are you going to do that? It's going to be by taking control of a new routine, as well as learning the basic and, like I said, scientific principles of influence that you have with yourself and those you lead. Because success does not happen in solitude, so we need allies along the way. And there's a certain way to structure our words that can help with that, and I'll be going over that. And there's also a certain way to have your mindset to get it in order before we actually open our mouth, okay? So if anyone is feeling uncertain or anxious right now, go ahead and give me a Y in the question box. And I think I'm pretty safe to say most people at some point, I've actually had some clients that they've had people on their teams. This has been the best thing that happened. They've rented an Airbnb or they're in a vacation home floating around on a boat somewhere doing some work. It's great. But then there's other people that are really, really struggling. And I think it's some point that all of us have felt uncertain or anxious. It's just normal. So instead of a why, a yes or no, why don't you put on a scale of 1 to 10 in the question box where you are? So 1 would be, no, I'm not uncertain or anxious at all. I'm like living my best life. I'm all good. And then 10 would be, I'm really struggling, like for basic functions, struggling. And I've seen it all. Just, there's no judgment. I cannot see your names. Just be very honest, with yourself. Okay. Thanks so much. I appreciate everybody's transparency. All right. So now, before we jump in, I would like to get a general assessment of how you're doing. Now, this is not a scientific assessment. So if you score very, very high, don't be too excited because there is a next level for all of us. And I'm seeing some of these scores come in from how you're rating yourself. So I really appreciate you guys doing that. So for this assessment, though, if you score, just be honest with yourself. No one is going to see your name on these. This is something for you. So just be honest with yourself. If you score low, it's okay. Not any worries at all. I'm going to give you some tools to boost that score. If you score in the middle, you're good too. There's a next level for you. If you are off the charts, amazing. Actually, don't be super excited because we can't all be amazing in every aspect of your life. So there'll be a next level for you as well. So, all right. So we're going to hop into this. If you have a phone or tablet handy, I tried to make this link as simple as possible. If you run into any problems, then go ahead and put a note in the questions. But what you're going to enter in, and I'll say it out loud if anyone's on audio only. It's https://bit.ly/MMA-IAWE. Okay, so go ahead and put that in, and if as soon as someone gets in, just put in the questions, just say, just put I'm in or something, just to let me know that we got the link, it's working, and we're all good. We've tested it, so we should be good. All right, so I'll give you like a second to get in. And then I'm going to go through all of the questions. So if for some reason you do not want to put your name and email, because you'll get, based on your score, you'll get some resources following this up. If you don't want to get those, that's totally fine too. You can handwrite these, but if you want to get some resources to help you improve your score, then that's what this will do. Okay, awesome. Some of you are getting in, so we're going to go ahead and get started. If I'm going too quickly, you can let me know, but also I will be giving you this slide deck and you can do it after the fact as well. Okay, awesome. Looks like everyone's in. All right, let's move forward. Question number 1, I feel in control of my goals, dreams, and aspirations. So 1 would be not at all. Like I'm just like reeling right now. And 10 would be, yep, I'm good. Like I know where I'm going, total control. Okay, please repeat. I don't know if repeat the I'm in, but the get started is not working. Repeat the password. Okay, let me go back for a second. Let me just make sure everyone has this. Okay, I'll leave it up for one more second. There shouldn't
Sheryl,
be...
I'm putting it up as an announcement at the bottom of the screen right now. You also, if you go into the attachments and links section on your webinar view, it's linked under Take the Mindset Mastery Assessment, so you can get the link there as well.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for doing that.
Yep.
Okay, so question 1, we're going to move along to question 2, which is, when I wake up in the morning, I feel a sense of peace and calm. Okay, 1 would be if you wake up in the morning, roll over, grab your phone, start scrolling through the news and freak out because the pandemic is getting worse instead of better. And then you start sweating and you hit the ground running in a total panic. Okay, I'm being kind of funny, but I'm not totally funny because some people do start their day that way. 10 would be you get up, you drink water, you have a routine, you're calm, you don't check your phone for an hour at least, and that type of thing. Okay, so just, and 5 might be somewhere in the middle. Okay? Question 3, I have a consistent morning routine that sets the stage for a productive and purposeful day. 1 would be no routine at all. You just kind of get up and kind of whatever happens, happens. And then 10 would be you have a very consistent morning routine. All right. 4, I'm aware when I feel out of control and I'm able to course correct and feel more grounded. So we all at some point feel out of control, whether we're in this unusual time right now or not. And when you start to feel that way, do you feel like you get worse and worse and worse, or do you feel like you can course correct and just feel grounded? Okay. And question 5, currently I feel in control of how I treat those who matter the most. 1 would be not at all. It'd be like, I'm generally a nice person, but I just keep yelling at everyone, or I'm really short. And 10 would be, no matter what's going on in my world, I'm very conscientious about how I speak with people. All right. And then 6, I feel physically and emotionally strong and healthy. 1 would be not at all. In the last 3 months, I've, gained a lot of weight. I've fallen off my exercise routine, and I'm just kind of emotionally not feeling great. And then 10 would be I'm in the best shape of my life and I have the tools to just feel really healthy and strong. And again, there's absolute no judgment. Just kind of be honest with yourself. Okay. Throughout the day, I'm able to stay on task and remain productive. This is a tough one now, but the good news is that there are tools to improve it. And we want to make sure on that one that we course correct quickly, because the cumulative effect of not being productive can really affect us over the long haul. All right, question 8. When I go to bed, I have an evening routine that slows down my mind and sets me up for a good night's rest. One would be, like, typically I would rate myself an 8. I meditate, I read, I like do all these things. Last night, hopefully you don't do this, but taxes are due. I was going through looking at my tax bill. I should have done a long time. I did that right before bed. I was on my phone. It was terrible. And so it was good though, and I'm glad, because it made me realize how important this is. Okay, so give yourself kind of an honest rating here. 9, I don't allow the things I can't control to affect my emotions or productivity. 1 would be, no, you're very emotional and things are constantly affecting you. And 10 would be, maybe you get triggered a little bit, but then you can kind of calm down and come back. And people are saying that they keep getting the screen to enter my name and email. So if this is going really wonky on you for some reason, you can just write down the answers. And you'll also get this after the fact. You'll have all the slides if you want to go through. Not that I want to give away all the secrets, but I'm going to be giving away the slide deck so you can run through it after the fact as well. All right, we're almost done. Question 10. When others are leaning on me, I have strategies in place to protect and keep my energy up. As women, we tend to be givers, and sometimes we do not ask for help or ask for time or ask for solitude. So give yourself an honest rating on this one as well. And then finally, final question, and this would be a great one to put in the questions area because you're probably not alone. What is your biggest challenge right now and that you would need help with? So for some people, it's just to have a quiet hour or two for themselves, either to spend on personal development or to go for a walk or to meditate or just to kind of be by themselves, or it might be help that you need in your business or what have you, or accountability or something. So if you want to put those in the questions, then that would be great. All right. So, okay, thanks for all those posts. That's awesome. So we are going to move ahead because some of these things are going to help wherever you found yourself on this assessment. They are going to help. So I want to contextualize this for you. If you feel like you scored in the bottom third on these consistently, let's say 1 through 4, then I want you to think about what is the next level for me, not about how can I be most amazing. I don't want you to compare yourself to anyone. If you're really struggling right now, then think about what is that next level for you. And it might be to get some help. It might be honestly to make a call to a therapist or a friend or, a mentor or something to get some help. If you're doing amazing, then I want you to, let's say you're doing amazing in your business, then I want you to take what we're going to talk about in the context of where else in my life is maybe could use a next level of impact. Could it be in my relationships or my wellness? Because there's 3 main buckets in our lives. There's our career, our wellness, and our relationships, not to oversimplify. So I want you to take an assessment of which one is most important to you right now, and then we'll apply some of these tools to that. Okay, awesome. All right, so let's jump right in. The first worksheet that we're going to do, it's called Rule Your Morning. And this is more about your habits and less about your mindset. So before we get into mindset and influence, I want to make sure that you do have a good morning routine, especially now. And so this sheet will help you get your day off and make you feel more in control and grounded and set you up so you can rule your morning. And like it says, rule your day. Help you take control of your morning, become more productive, and focus on the things that matter most, okay? I want you to also think that you do not have to do the things in here that I have listed. These are recommendations, But when I say move your body, that might be, I have a client, actually she's in my monthly program, but she dances. Like for me, I'll give you an example of doing a couple yoga moves or arm circles or stretching, whatever is safe for you. But she gets up and she's a dancer. So she doesn't do anything formal, but she just moves around and dances for a few minutes and turns on a song. So do what's appropriate for you in the amount. So we're going to talk about movement. We're going to talk about intention. We're going to talk also about hydration and all these things. So do them in a way that's appropriate for you. When it comes to hydration, you know, your brain is at least 70% water. So one of the best things that you can do now is drink water. And one thing that I have read, and I would like you to confirm this with your medical professional, because I do not want to give any nutrition or medical advice, but in water, if you drink water in the morning, lemon is really great for pH, and that is something that can be really helpful to keep your immune system really healthy, especially during this time. So I would advise drinking 12 to 16 ounces of water right when you wake up with some lemon in it. That is, of course, unless you have taking any type of medication that will is not good with lemon. If you're like, there's no way I can drink that much water, get up, drink 4 ounces. Like if you're not used to hydrating at all in the morning, what's most important is that you do something and do it consistently. Then you can inch it up. And then also when it comes to, so there's an acronym for this. It's called MISH, Mish Your Morning. So you can ask each other, call your friends, and set up some accountability and ask if you've missed your morning or set it up in your family. But movement, decide this isn't a workout. This is just something where you can just move and stretch and do something to start moving in the morning in a way that's safe for you. Set an intention. So in other words, think about how you want to approach the day. And for me, I am like calm and present. That's just me. I'm calm and present. And so that way, and you can, it will really guide you through your day. I'm still, so I have a meditation practice. I meditate for 15 minutes in the morning, but whatever you want to do is fine. If you do not have any type of practice where you're still and just breathe or journal or do something, do it for a minute, do it for 3 minutes, whatever, just start doing it consistently. And then of course, hydrate. And then there's a couple examples here of once you get ready to work, how to keep it most productive. And the main thing that I would get from this is in the morning, unless you are in a job that requires you to have customer service where you must, like it is your job to respond to email, then I would highly recommend that the first hour of your day, and at least it would even be ideal if it's 2 hours, but at least the first hour is dedicated to whatever project is most important to you. So, and you might have to train people and put people on notice of, you know, when you're going to start to be available. And if you guys have any questions about that, you can put it in. Again, this is something that you can print and something just to create some new habits in the morning to feel more in control, to be more productive, and to set yourself up for a productive and calm day. All right. All right, so now we're going to get in. I don't want to say the good stuff because I like to think the other stuff was good too. But I'm going to introduce my Be Heard Now framework. You guys are one of the first groups to see this. It's going to come out in the form of a digital course in September. We're beta testing it right now in groups because we'll teach it live in groups as well. But you know, I super appreciate all the hard work that Megan's done, especially with, you know, leading up to this webinar and also to the one that we did for your central region. So I wanted to share it with you guys. Also, and I mentioned to Megan, you guys are going to receive 2 new worksheets that are in this program that the central region did not get. So if you're from the central region, this coming up is going to be a little different. So just to give you a 10,000-foot view, this is really 6 hours of instruction. And from what I've been told, I don't have that much time. Right, Megan? I'm just being funny. But yeah, I think I would get in a little bit of trouble. So And there's a question coming in, where will we find the worksheet that was on the previous slide? I will stick with me. I will give you all of these resources at the end. Okay? Good question. So what I'm going to do now is give you a 10,000-foot view of this framework. And then we're going to go deep on one part of it. I'm going to give you a high-level view because I want you to understand the context of it. But then I want you to master a little sliver of it rather than me fire hosing you with everything and have your head spinning and not really absorbing or being able to apply any of it. So I hope that that makes sense. The whole point of this goes back to what I was talking about before, in my belief in each and every one of you having something so special placed inside you that you deserve to speak up and be heard right now, but also we have a sense of obligation, and I really believe in the ability of the conscious capitalism as well as the heart-centered leadership of female leaders and their male allies. And so this is my solution to unlock, quite honestly, what's already within you, but maybe not accessible, okay? And a lot of it's from the same content that I've taught world-class athletes, even Olympians. And so let's, without further ado, jump in. So hopefully you can see my arrow here when I'm pointing to something, can you? Megan, can you let me know?
No, unfortunately we can't see the arrow.
Okay, no worries. I'll just do a good job of explaining it. So I'm basically going to talk about three things. That's it. Clarity, confidence, and influence. Clarity, at the top, it's in orange. Clarity is where everything starts, right? We start, this course and curriculum starts at a very aspirational level. In other words, getting in touch with your highest sense of integrity, basically who you are, what drives you, how you define yourself, and that type of thing. Then it gets down to legacy. In other words, how do you want to be remembered? How do you want to be remembered in your career and your family? How do you want to be remembered maybe when you're no longer here anymore? And then also a blueprint. The blueprint is a roadmap or game plan. Okay, that's when, we get down to the nitty-gritty of figuring out your plan. And just like Olympians or world-class performers, we start with the end in mind, and then we work backwards. And then also in moments, this clarity piece also gets very granular and talks about how do you prepare for the moments that matter most. What I found when working with some of the most influential senior leaders here in San Francisco, Silicon Valley, and worldwide, and even when speaking, either in small groups or from larger stages, a lot of people do not prepare for the moments that are very important to them. And so this is really important. It would be like if you train your whole life for the Olympics, but then you didn't prepare how to compete under pressure, or you didn't prepare for that moment to shine. And so that's what this clarity piece is all about. And a lot of times this is very important because if we understand on an aspirational level who we are and the legacy that we want to lead, then that becomes very powerful. It becomes motivating. It becomes a driver even when the road gets difficult. So clarity, that's why it's first, and that's why it's really, really vital to get this nailed down on an aspirational all the way down to a granular level of clarity so we can chart our path to where we want to go, okay? Confidence. A lot of people think that confidence, people were just burst into this world with confidence. Does anyone know someone, they're just like, oh, that person's just so confident. And they feel like the person has just kind of always been that way. And anyone feel that way? Yeah, I used to think that way a lot, and it definitely seems that way. But people who are extremely confident, they've either learned how to be confident, and that is by a small succession of successes, or they've learned these tools how to master their mindset to be confident, or they were conditioned to be confident as a young person. You know, a mentor of mine, a speaking mentor, his father used to rub him on the back every morning when he was little, all the way till he was an adult, and say, "You're the best, darn it." And so he grew up believing that not all of us have that. And sometimes in my case, thinking that I'm not good enough, I have the opposite. So I had to learn how to be confident. So these are all learned tools in here. And this confidence piece is a big piece that I have taught world-class performers, and it's honestly available to everyone. And so I'm really excited about that part. And then finally, influence. Influence, like I've mentioned before, success doesn't happen in solitude. So we first have to have influence over ourselves, so we believe that what we want is possible, but also we have to have influence over others. And sometimes influence has a negative connotation. People think that influence means talking people into things that maybe they don't want to do. And that absolutely is not the case. Influence is all about helping others come up to your point of view. Okay, it's not about convincing. It's not about strong-arming or pushing someone onto something. It's about the scientific-based way of structuring communication so other people are more likely to stand with you in allyship. So this will come into play with business partners. It'll come into play with potential clients and, of course, with family members, you know, as well when you're trying to, especially with, you know, with our relationships with our partners and kids as well. All right. So that is, oh, and one thing that I wanted to really share. So with clarity up here in the top in the orange, if we don't have clarity from an aspirational level all the way down to a granular level, then if you look at the opposite of clarity down here, it says no vision. So hopefully you guys see that. If we do not have clarity, then we do not have a vision. That means we don't know where we're going, okay? And that is not going to serve us when it comes to being productive and innovative and having impact. Now, for confidence over here in the blue, the opposite of confidence, if you follow that over the opposite side of this framework, it says no voice. If we are not confident in ourselves and our ability, then we have no voice. And I will tell you why. People pay attention 5 to 7 times more to our tone and our gestures than they do to our words. So if we are not confident, then it will come out in our tone. It's going to be very difficult for us, for others to have buy-in if we're not confident in ourselves. So it's extremely important. And finally, in influence, if you look at influence over here in the gray, if you look at the opposite of influence, it says no significance. If we are not highly influential, then we are not going to have the significance that we want and deserve, as well as the impact. Because what we want and deserve, it's not going to happen on our own. We're going to have buy-in from others. Okay? All right. So that was a lot of information in a short amount of time. So let me know if you have any questions there. We're going to move forward, and I'm going to get detailed on one aspect of this and teach you through it. But I will keep an eye on my questions. So if anyone, I talk about this a lot. I coach people through it one-on-one from stages and groups and companies. So it's kind of like a second language to me. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and pop something in the question box. All right, so we're going to talk about influence, because influence, I don't want to say I have a favorite. Just like I have 3 children, I do not have a favorite child. I always joke and say except on some days, but I really don't. And of these 3 things between clarity, confidence, and influence, influence just holds a very special place in my heart, because we can have more impact if we understand the science of how this works. The other 2 are very important leading up to it, but I chose to talk about influence today. All right. So I always like to think that I like to feel like this every morning when I wake up. I always think that I look around this age, but you can't really see me. I'm 54, so I probably don't actually look this age. But I do like to think that I would like to feel like her. Would anyone want to just get up and like feel like they're going to meet their day like this? Or is it just like a weird thing that I have? Maybe it's just me. I don't know. But we want to learn how to gain really world-class influence. And so we're going to talk about how to have strategic influence. In other words, thinking about who do we want to influence, what is the necessary mindset leading up to influence, and then what can we do right now to be more influential. And I look at your spokesperson, Star Jones, and she's had a remarkable amount of influence, and what an amazing person to have, you know, as a spokesperson. But I want to bring this back to you and to think about how you can have more influence in your career and in your family, and also with yourself, to achieve that next level of impact that you want for yourself and for others. Yes, seize the day. You got it. I just thought that photo was awesome. And so anyways, all right, we're going to jump in right now. So if anyone by any strange chance is multitasking, this would be the time to stop, because this is super, super important. And I'm going to venture to think that you probably haven't heard or learned this anywhere before. So it's really important to me that you get it, it sinks in. Do ask me questions if you have any. So influence starts with compassion towards yourself and even towards those who have wronged you or who you strongly disagree. Right now, especially for women and anyone who is marginalized, because I want to point out that within our sex, within being female, there is a lot of marginalization within our race and within, you know what I'm trying to say, within being a woman. Because so I want you to really keep that in mind. And there is sometimes when we're trying to influence a lot of anger and frustration. And I want to be the first one to say that it's 100% valid. Like, I get it. I don't want to say I get it, that I fully understand, but I'm saying it's totally valid, but it's not going to help us to have influence, okay? So we're going to start from a place of compassion for ourselves and others. And I want to introduce this worksheet. It's called Gaining an Eco Mindset. We need to prepare our mindset before we're trying to influence. So in other words, whether you're influencing a client, a family member, a colleague, anything, we need to be able to stand in someone else's shoes. We need to be able to prepare our mindset just as if an Olympian prepares their mindset to compete, right? And so there was an example of a client I had. Her name was Trish. She's a chief human resource officer for a big tech company here in San Francisco. And every time she went into the CEO staff meeting, there were 7 of them, she would always go last. And she wanted to go third because she was the voice of the people. And half of the time, she didn't even get to speak in the meeting. So she talked to the CEO and she said, I need to go third. I'm the voice of the people. This isn't fair. He said, I'm sorry, you're going to go last because you're not directly responsible for revenue generation. And so she went through this model, the next 2 worksheets that we're going to go over, and that's when everything changed for her. And now she does get to go third in her meeting. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing is, and this is a little small and a little bit challenging to read, but for the first one, I want you to think about a person who you would like to influence. It might be a new big client. It might be a senior leader. It might be someone who you're going to ask for a raise or someone who you're going to ask for a promotion. Or it might be someone in your family. Okay, so think about who that is. And I want you to think about, have you thought about what it's like to be in their shoes? Okay, just taken a step back and thought about that. And then we're going to think about creating what's called an eco mindset. Okay, and that's developing some empathy. Okay, just that is a box that you'll check. And again, you're going to get this worksheet. So just think through it now. I'm just going to explain it and you can fill it out later. Then also then you're going to think about some curiosity. So in Trish's sake, she hadn't thought what it was going to be like to be in her CEO shoes. So she did think about what must it be like for him or her. And then also curiosity. I wonder why he is under, or she is under so much pressure for revenue generation. And then she thought, oh, it's the board. He's probably getting really squeezed by the board. Okay. And then optimism. Normally we would think, well, here we go again. You know, if we're going into a situation that is new, for example, asking for a raise or a promotion, or approaching a big client who maybe we've been rejected from before, we tend to be like, oh, this might not happen. Here we go again. I'm just going to get rejected or shot down or what have you. But it's very important to have an optimistic mindset. of this time will be different. We want to think about, how do I want it to turn out? Okay, so it's not a self-fulfilling prophecy. So developing this eco mindset is super, super important, because that will prepare you to be heard. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult, because even if you say the right words, your tone is going to be off. And your tone and your gestures might make it less likely that you'll be influential. So then this worksheet leaves a space down below where you can actually build your sentence. So you can develop your eco mindset for the person that you want to influence. Now, at the bottom of this, it says now go on to the overview worksheet. You can disregard that. The overview worksheet is something that is in the course. There's 14 modules in this course. And so we're just going over 2 of them. So hopefully that makes sense. So you can disregard that. All right, so before we move into how to structure the conversation, does anyone have any questions on that eco mindset model and how to develop your mindset and prepare your mindset before you influence? You can type that in the question. So I don't see anything readily coming in, so I'm going to assume that you guys are all good to go. All right, so yes, this quote is the same quote. And this is on purpose because we, again, like I like to throw us women under the bus all at the same time. We tend to be a little hard on ourselves. Has anyone ever been told that they're hard on themselves? Like if I had $1 for every time, I think that would be amazing. So it's a work in progress to have more self-compassion towards ourselves, and also to for the things that we've accomplished, and also towards those, of course, who have wronged or strongly disagree. Just keep that in your mind, because this is where influence is going to happen, is when we can have compassion and understanding towards ourselves and others, even people who we strongly disagree with, okay? So the first step to influence. So this is a scientific-based model that's based on some of the work, research from Chris Voss, Brendan Burchard, Robert Cialdini, all of those folks who have been researching this content for the last 30 years. It is a human drive that we feel acknowledged and validated. Okay, I don't know if anyone has been on the back side of that, where someone kind of jumps on us and we feel attacked a little bit. Like you're not doing a good job, or there's something wrong, or something like that. We feel really attacked. It's because we don't feel acknowledged and validated. So it's very, very important that we start practicing that and doing it for others. So in Trish's case, when she went back, I'm seeing a lot of yeses, so thank you for that. So in Trish's case, going back to the example, when she went back to her CEO the second time, she, of course, went through the eco mindset model, so her mindset was prepared. So she was not angry and frustrated like the last time. And then what she said to him, she acknowledged and validated. She said, it seems like revenue generation and growth is extremely important to you, and I get it. Okay, one designation here that's very, very important. She did not say what I'm hearing. We get told to do that and say that a lot, but I would encourage you not to say what I'm hearing, because then it makes it about you. Okay, and it's not about you. Okay, it's not about us. It's about the people we're influencing. Okay, so I would encourage you, it's a tiny shift, but it can make a big difference, and to say, it seems like, it seems like revenue generation and growth is very important to you. Okay, and I get it. Acknowledge, validate. And then share a fact. Okay, it's not that your emotions don't matter. It's not that her feelings were hurt or that whatever, it doesn't matter, but we always lead with the fact, and emotions always second. So what she said was, I printed out the report of the last, of all the hiring we've done over the past year, and the growth and the revenue that they have generated, and how I am directly related to this growth. So I just wanted to point out that based on this report, I am in fact responsible for revenue generation. It's a fact. It's something that cannot be argued. Okay, and then you can share your point of view. Now you have earned the right in the platform. People are now have their ears open to listen, and you're going to share your point of view, which is your ask. And the ask, you want to be very crystal clear on the ask and not have it be cloudy at all. So in other words, Trish did not say, I want to make sure that I'm heard in the meeting. Okay, that's not very clear. What she said is, based on these facts, I'd like to go third in the meeting. Okay, and then one thing that goes beyond, it's actually on the next worksheet, but I'm not going to give that worksheet to you guys right now because it's too long, but I want to share that it's important to ask this, also pose a question. So in other words, you want to share your point of view in that, in Trish's case, just as an example, that me being heard, I'm the voice of the people. I really think that it's important that I am heard, and pose it in a question. So in other words, do you think if we both have a revenue generation goal of 20% by next quarter, do you think it would be prudent that I would be able to speak third? So kind of pose that in the way of a question, okay? So acknowledge and validate, pose a fact, think of a fact that's indisputable, and then get very clear and articulate about your point of view and pose it in the form of a question, okay? Any questions? Speaking of questions, any questions? This will take some practice, okay? So once you fill out the eco mindset model and once you fill this out for yourself, don't think that your work is done. If you have a very important conversation coming up with someone at work or someone at home, it must be practiced as well. So practice with someone at home, have your dog sit there and listen to you, practice in the mirror, whatever. But if it's a crucial conversation, because I don't want you to practice for your Olympics and then come up and it's time to compete and then you're unable to access this, okay? Just like an Olympian practices, you need to practice this stuff too. All right? All right, so just a quick recap. We talked about how to feel more calm and in control, especially during this interesting time that we're in, and that is to mish your morning, and don't worry, you will get that worksheet. We also talked about developing an eco mindset, developing empathy, curiosity, and optimism in your mindset, and really thinking this through prior to going into any crucial conversation or position of influence. This could be a presentation, a meeting, a talk, what have you, anything. And then also we went through something called the voice amplifier model, teaching you the scientific-based steps to influence, how to acknowledge and validate, think of a fact, an indisputable fact that will back you up, and then also sharing your point of view. What I would really, really love you to do and like to invite you to do is to teach, go through, print out these worksheets after you receive them, go through them and try and teach them to someone, because that social learning is what is going to really solidify them into your mind. And there is, okay, there's a quick question. We have a minute. Someone said, how can I use this to influence my children? Okay, awesome. I will run through it with you in about a minute or so. That's a great question. It might be, let's say you have, well, I'll use older children because my kids are older, although this hasn't happened in a while because they're all responsible at this point. But let's say you have a child that either wants to stay out late and you say their curfew will now, their curfew is, let's say, 11 o'clock. And they're like, no, all my friends are doing this, and no, I don't want to. You want to influence them to be home on time. So you might acknowledge and validate their point of view and say, gosh, seems like all your friends are out, and it seems like everyone's staying out, past midnight. And, I get how you would want to do that too. I totally get it. Like when I was your age, I might want to have done that too. So acknowledge and validate. Then you want to get an undisputed fact. Like I would always tell my kids that nothing good happens after 12 o'clock. So for me, and this is just my style, I might get in my town, like all of maybe the traffic accidents or all the things that are happening or some indisputable fact of why it's really important. So I would say this is a fact. I printed this up from our local police. I totally trust you, but all the not so smart people are out after 12. This is why it's important that you're home by 12 and it's not negotiable. and then you can, share your point of view in the form of a question and say, based on this report that I have here, as well as, how much I love and trust and care for you, I would imagine you'd understand why it's important to be home by 11. Is that right? And so that's how that would work. If your kids are younger and want to eat M&Ms for breakfast, you can kind of slot it in for there as well. So hopefully that's helpful. So we have about 2 minutes left. I do have a final exercise for you, but I also want to know if anyone else has any questions. And Megan, if you need, any time to wrap things up for you.
I do not need time to wrap up. Just as a heads up, the platform will cut us off automatically about 3 minutes after the scheduled end date, or the end time. So it will automatically cut off if you're still
okay.
working.
Yeah, no problem. So let me explain then. So a lot of you were asking me for the resources. If you go to SherylKline.com / and this is all in capital letters, IAWE, then you will get access to the slide deck, all of the worksheets. I believe you will get access to a chapter of my book, as well as the opportunity to schedule a 30-minute call with me. Now, I want to explain who the call is for and maybe who it wouldn't be for. If you are a senior leader and you would like me to speak about this in more detail for you or coach you through it, then that would be a great use of your time, or come in and do a presentation or webinar for your team. I'd be glad to talk to you about doing that.